Shalom, shalom. Greetings, family. Blessings, blessings to you all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Shalom, blessings to you all. Welcome to Masculinity Monday. I am your host, Mike Allen, here for Bible Digging in the Word. And let me change my background screen here to get us up to speed. All right, I was doing some video recording earlier, and I used that background screen earlier. And there we go. This is more appropriate. Masculinity Monday. I got my brother in the background, Brother D. I'm going to bring him in. Greetings, Brother D. Shalom, blessings. How you doing, man?
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Good night, everyone. All the watchers and all the people who would watch later on.
What's going on, brother? How's everything, man? How are you?
Doing
How are
okay.
you?
Can't complain.
Yeah, for sure. Indeed. Yeah, complaining. Who's listening? And if they are listening, you got to watch out for them.
Exactly. Yeah, they might be planning against you or something.
yeah. If they're gonna take the time to listen to complaints, because they're not busy, then yeah, there might be it might draw for some concerns.
Big time, yes.
Why are you listening to me? and by the way,
what is your plot?
Yeah, why are you listening to me? yeah, for sure. Yeah, so how was the week, man?
Yeah, wasn't too bad. I can't complain. Like I said, so long as you have your health, you can't never complain about anything. Have your five senses. Can't complain about anything else. Everything else you can figure it out.
Right. Indeed. Yeah, man. Health is that they say health is wealth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's like one of those brothers. I think is I listened to his he gives some great advice on working out. I believe his name is Red Bear.
Red
brother
Beer?
here in Brooklyn. Older gentleman. I think he's in his late 60s, 70s, something like that. Works out and does calisthenics. Always says wealth is health. So
wealth is health.
That's a what a good saying. As he said, shout out to him.
Yeah. And no matter how much money you have, you soon find out how wealthy you are. When you have no health.
Oh man, whew.
No health, lack of health shuts down everything.
Like how they say, lack of change is a lack of seeing a good helper to get you better wealth too.
Yeah. So yeah, man, we had a good stream this past Shabbat, man. Talking on faith, man. It's such a deep topic, man. It doesn't seem like it seemed like we even scratched the surface, man. We can't get out of the 11th chapter. Going through 11 and 12 of Hebrews, we seem like we can't get out of the 11th chapter. It's so deep.
Hey, I think we're doing our 40 days or 40 nights kind of thing there. We do it all.
Yeah. of just two chapters, Hebrews 11 and Hebrews 12.
We literally got out of the city and we still going around in circles right now.
Yeah, it's so deep, man. It's so deep. It's such a rich topic, man, on faith. Those of you who have not seen the past two streams that we've done on Shabbat morning Bible Dig, 8 a.m. is when we actually get started, and we've been touching on. It's turned into a series. It was intended to be one video, but it turned into a series on the subject of faith and how the value of kingdom faith transcends this world. And so we've been going through. For the first part, those who are referenced in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, and how they exemplify faith, and their faith is noteworthy in really giving us knowledge today to understand what faith really is. They set the example. They set the bar. They epitomize what faith looks like, and so. If you want to know what faith looks like, it's an excellent chapter, to study and to go through. So I definitely have been having fun on this one, man. Definitely. Yeah. So, tonight's topic. Before I, introduce the topic, would you like to open us up with a word of prayer, my brother?
Sure, not a problem. Thank you all the brothers who came back to watch us and listen to this great conversation we're gonna have, bringing a word that the Lord can bless us, and that He can utilize His tools and instruments to spread His word during these times of just being attacked in the physical and also in the spiritual realm, that we don't see. That we're able to speak those words, and that He's able to give us that armor of protection to go on that strong journey and do the works that He wants us to do. In your name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the blessed prayer. Yes. So so happen what we're talking about tonight is taking us into another series. you know, uh so this is part two of what we
We're planning to change it to masculine series.
yeah,
Like
masculine
Shabbat
series,
series.
Shabbat series, yeah.
Go ahead, brother. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's not it, man. It's like it's just been developing that way, man. The topic of the discussions of these topics is just so enriched and deep. They have so much depth to them. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to unravel. There's so much to dig into that it just calls for sequences. It's not planned. The all intensive purposes, man. The goal, the aim, was to basically just knock these out, in one session a piece. But like I said, they've been turning into series. But it's
Yeah,
good.
it
It's
gives
good.
a big our testament to the book and how powerful it is, the complexity of it,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
many things that the Lord puts our mind into
Mm.
studying and trying to understand Him. Even though He
Yeah.
says, you know what, it's beyond our understanding, but the richness of us being humans, just wanting to learn, and he writes it in that way because I believe that if he wrote it just straight directly as, "Hey, I want an appetizer, give me a egg and bacon or
Mhm.
whatever it might be," we would have been like, "Okay, cool, let's move on to something else." But the way it was written, it keeps you so always going back.
Hmm.
It makes you
Hmm.
be like that lady when he mentioned to that I would give you living water.
Yeah,
That time
yeah,
that he
yeah.
mentioned to her. Yeah,
Yes,
he keeps
yes.
feeding
Indeed,
us
indeed,
spiritually.
indeed, indeed. And I think you said it so well. The complexity of his word is so rich, man. It's so rich. It's so rich. Like I said, like a topic like tonight and the topic, that we've been dealing with faith. These are topics that literally I believe can last for like several years because there's just so much depth to them, you know. And so,
Definitely.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But we're not intended on taking several years to talk about tonight's topic. So tonight's topic, once again, is on biblically masculine men do not make seed. And this is a very important topic for men to biblically masculine men to really get a grasp, get a hold of that biblically masculine men do not mix seed. And in the discussion we had, it wasn't last week because last week I had to postpone last week's Masculinity Monday. Uh,
Correct.
but when we had the last session, what are some of the things do you remember that we talked about that we can sort of kind of like briefly review that you can remember that we
And
touched on?
well, I remember we got really into the ability to not mix seeds, the importance of betting and being sure of who we're speaking to, who we decide to create a family with,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of not doing a mixture of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Just pretty much trying to keep things in a orderly fashion if possible.
Right, 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 right. It definitely, we see in the book that it is prescribed, it is commanded by the Creator that relationship, marriage, uh, abide by or has boundaries of certain rules and laws and principles to function through. And so, living in a sinful world, a world where many are lost, many who do not have faith, do not want to have relationship with our Creator, with our Master, and as a result, are living lifestyles as it relates to sex, as it relates to relationships. And one of the things that I remember that we touched on is, it's the mixing seed is the idea of sharing the same woman. And if you are biblically masculine, you wouldn't be okay. You shouldn't be okay with the idea. You would feel extremely uncomfortable with the idea of someone else, sharing with your woman with you. And yeah, and so definitely, the principles are there. We got our brother Rapaholic. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, brother. Shalom, brother.
Comment made me think of Proverbs 25:2 with regards to the way the Bible is structured. Proverbs 25:2. Let me pull it up on the screen. He put the scripture up there. I didn't even put my present screen set, but I could set it right now. It's not a problem. Not a problem. Here we go. All right. So Proverbs 25:2. And this is what it says. It is the glory of Yah to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. Wow. And the next verse says, as the heavens for height and the earth for depth, so the heart of kings is unsearchable. Is that the passage that you were referencing, Brother Rapaholic? And let me know, what was it that what made what Brother Derek said resonate or make you think of this particular passage here? Let me look at it in another translation. I'm looking at it in the King James. It is the glory of Yah to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. Still trying to find a connection, but it's all right. When you get a chance, definitely chime in with it. So yeah, certainly that's what mixing seed really is. It's really about sharing the same woman, and there's dangers with that. So I think tonight it is definitely a good thing for us to peel the layers, to dig deeper into this topic, because I think it definitely goes deeper, deeper than what we actually we started. This may not be as long as the previous session, but definitely there's some more depth that I think that we can dig into tonight. And so the first question that I have, let me pull up. The first question that I have to ask is, why does Yahweh want his creation to remain clean? One of the things that we emphasize, and one of the things that we said in some of the scriptures that we looked at the last time, and those of you who have not seen or gotten an opportunity to watch the previous Masculinity Monday, I encourage you to go see this topic, the first part, biblically masculine men do not mix seed, because it definitely will give further clarity as to what we're about to talk in tonight. We dealt with a lot of fundamental definitions the last time. So tonight, like I said, we want to take it a little bit deeper in this discussion. And so why does Yahweh want his creation to remain clean, Brother D? Why do you think he would want to have his creation remain clean?
For me, I would. Okay, let's see. You want to cover that one, brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
He says, Brother Derek says something to the effect of the book keeping us coming back. At least that is what I got from it. Yeah, I agree, definitely. That's the thing about the book. It is, Yah conceals a thing, but it is the honor of his kings to search out a matter. So we definitely being a royal priesthood, we definitely being kings, right? According to Revelations 1, we should always seek to study to show ourselves approved. We should always seek to study and meditate in his word day and night, right? We should add to our wisdom, knowledge, and we should add learning, and we should continue to add understanding or seek to gain understanding. We should constantly be seeking to grow in the area of our knowledge and our wisdom and our understanding. And so definitely one thing that I said before, and I don't know if I said this the last time, I think we said this on Shabbat, one of the Shabbat mornings, is that, Yahweh is infinite in his knowledge. The things that he knows is everything. There's not a thing that he does not know. We, on the other hand, are limited in what we know. And that means that even when we get the opportunity to see our Savior face to face, in our redeemed bodies, we will still be at a stage of learning. We will still be in a mindset of understanding and being aware of and being cognizant of the fact that there is going to be much more for us to learn. Because even now the angels are in a state of learning. And so all created beings are just that. When he created us, he didn't create us to be exactly like him. He created us to reflect him, but he definitely did not make other gods or the elves, right? Because then that would be the case, and we will be all powerful, we'll be all knowing, we'll be all present, right? So he didn't make that when he made us. He didn't make that when he made the angels, when he created the angels. So we are always in an ever state of pursuing knowledge. We will always be in a state of seeking to play catch up to him. So the things that he knows and understands, there are things that he conceals and there are things that he reveals. But it is up to us to seek out that knowledge, seek his base, seek to grow in him, seek to grow in our understanding of him. And in the process is what I could definitely say on anything. You want to add on that, Brother D?
I would say another thing that is very helpful for us, all of us, even the ones that are on that journey, and the ones who are going to be going on that journey or want that change of journey, is coming to the word with humbleness, always with humility. I think sometimes we come that I know more than this other person. I've been studying this a specific word longer than this other person. I know more than this person. No, always have that humility, have that humbleness to it, because a brother can just say something and wow, it gives off a whole complete different perspective and view much deeper into the word itself.
Right. Hence the very reason as to why Yeshua said to his disciples that you must become like a child. The child doesn't have to become like you, but you have to become like a child, because the way of the child is the way into the kingdom. And so, we have to understand that the way up in him, the way up in glory, the way up in relationship with him requires that we go down. The way up is down. The way up requires humility, that we humble ourselves, that we abase, we walk lowly, we become lowly, in order to excel in him. And so if there's any approaching him, it has to come in the form of being humble as a child. A child is always inquisitive, like everything as the adult. They will ask you question after question, and then after they finish asking you question, but why?
And you know what? What is so strange, as we get older, we lose that ability. We automatically just take a word for things, and we don't question it. We don't say why. We don't ask the
Mm-hmm.
whys. We stop
Mm-hmm.
asking the whys, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when the danger comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
We just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
accept the truth
Exactly.
of
Exactly.
something,
Exactly.
and it should
It's,
be backed up by something concrete.
definitely, definitely. And it's the very reason why Yeshua had to rebuke his disciples, because in their thinking, when he was blessing these little children, they came to stop these parents from bringing their children to him to be blessed. Like to say, like, don't bother him with your insignificant children, because they're not worthy to be blessed by our master. And then Yeshua had to bust their bubble. And it's like, hey, no, for such is the kingdom of Yah. You know, the kingdom belongs to them. You know, you're the one that have to become like them. They don't have to become like you. And that's the idea of when we gain knowledge in this world, there's a tendency of thinking that the knowledge that we gain in this world, a lot of it is false knowledge, but a lot of, nevertheless, it's knowledge. And we begin to think that we've arrived. And one of the worst things, as you said, Brother D, is to not, approach this book with a mindset of humility, with a mindset of, that says to yourself, I know nothing. Compared to him, I know nothing. Even what I know.
Correct. Yeah. Even if what I know is just 1%.
Right.
You
It's
know?
like, right. Like,
And if it's 1%, you pretty much you just beginning like everybody else, pretty
yeah.
much.
I mean, think of it in terms of time. Like, we know that there's a time span called infinity, right? Which goes on
Yes.
forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is the comparison of one day or 1 year, for that matter, in comparison to infinity?
And that's what I think brings a lot of concerns to many people who are gathering in religious perspective, because they
Mm-hmm.
take it as a year. They take it the same way he views it. He takes a year. He treats a year as a day, one day. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine, you keep thinking, oh, it's on his way. Maybe not even close.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so as people, we miss it. We miss it because there is that tendency of getting arrogant. You know what I'm saying? That of
Exactly.
thinking that you controlling the timing. You're the one that can determine when his kingdom will be ushered in. You're the one that,
Correct.
right, you're calling this. And again, it's a mindset no different than what Eve had. And well, if I eat of this fruit, I can be made wise and I'll be like him, you know. And so any other route of attaining knowledge and wisdom aside from him, and through the process that he commands, which is humility, is out of order. Definitely. But I know we digress, but let's
Some
get back
elders, some
to
elders definitely do that too. Yeah, they have the
mm-hmm,
ability that
mm-hmm,
when it's
mm-hmm,
convenient, they will say, you can learn from a child. But
mm-hmm.
when a child gives something powerful, a powerful statement, they will ignore that because they're
Yeah,
like, it's just a child. So do not
yeah.
pick and choose when it's convenient or not. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's pride. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Pride.
And there
Package
you go.
package
One of the
pride.
no-nos.
Yeah, pride. Pride. So why does Yahweh want his creation to remain clean? Because we're gonna talk about being biblically masculine and not mixing seed. It's obviously mixing seed makes one unclean. It defiles. And matter of fact, let's look at a passage as a refresher
Okay.
to
I
help
would I
us.
would I'll address the question right now as you're looking up that passage too.
Mhm, mhm.
You said, why does creation remain clean?
Yeah.
I would take it as the same way like the military, I would say, or as we have the screen behind you for construction. When
Hmm.
you got to be able to build something, a structure the way you want to build it, you need
Hmm.
a foundation that is not having issues with it. And the
Right.
foundation has to be clean. It has to have certain kind of requisites what you need to build something, to build
Right.
that structure. And
Right.
that's why you
Right.
need to come to him clean. So even if it's, let's say, if it's muddy, is a swamp, you got to somehow throw the dirt. Just like for example, the state of Florida, what was built up from a lot of dump,
Mhm.
a good majority of it was
Yeah.
built up through movements
Swampland.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
movement
Swampland.
of dirt to another section, making it
Mhm.
stronger for them to
Mhm.
be able to build what they have now.
Right.
And I
Yes. It's
think we gotta,
Canarsie is like that. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and we gotta
Mhm.
show up like in that same way, because if we do not, then the Lord can't utilize us to the way He wants us to mold us.
Right. Exactly. 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 So in this particular passage, this is one of the passages that we definitely went through in that first session. We got a comment. I'm assuming it's from Brother Rance. He says to answer the question, no sane person would eat out of a dirty plate. So keeping things clean makes sense and is even healthy. Amen to that. That is so true. I mean, who wants to eat out of a dirty plate? you know, it's dangerous. Actually, you can seriously get sick or have some sort of food poisoning as a result. Yep, 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 yep. So let's yeah, definitely good point, brother Rapperholic. Definitely. So in Deuteronomy 24, it says, when a man takes a wife and marries her, and it happens that she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some indecency in her, something unclean, something improper, right?
Okay.
Okay. So some indecency in her, right? And he writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out from his house, and she leaves his house and goes and becomes another man's wife. So she has a certificate of divorce. She's legally free. She's
Okay.
legally free to be able to go and to marry another man, is what the law says, right? And so, and in the latter, and if the latter husband turns against her and writes her a certificate of divorce, so now the second husband decides that he wants to
Oh
divorce her because
wow.
he possibly seen something that's unclean in her, and he puts
Okay.
it in her hand and sends her out of his house. Or if the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband, that is the first man that married her, who sent her away, is not allowed to take her again to be his wife, since she has been defiled. For that is an abomination before Yahweh, and you shall not bring sin on the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you as an inheritance. So to take her back um, would be a violation, or an abomination would be something that Yahweh hates. That's what abomination means. He loathes, he
Yes.
detests, right? And why does he hate it? Because she has been defiled. How has she been defiled? How has she been defiled here? What makes her defiled? Is it because she was handed a divorce 2 times? But wait, the second husband didn't necessarily had given her a divorce. The text says that he could have died. So it could have been the second time she's released from her second marriage is not necessarily because of something indecent in her that she did immorally, but it is that her husband died. So once the husband dies, she's free according to the law. She's free to marry. In fact, let me take us there. That's Romans 7. And Paul says this. He says, or do you not know, brethren, for I am speaking to those who know the law, that the law is jurisdiction over a person as long as he lives. For the married woman is bound by her husband while he is living. So as long as he is living, she's bound to him, right? But if her husband dies, she is released from the law concerning the husband. So he's taking this from Deuteronomy 24. that if her husband dies, she's free. So then, if while her husband is living, she is joined to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from the law, so that she is not an adulteress, though she is joined to another man. So clearly the law is not saying that she can't marry at all. So, but why is it that she's defiled if the second man is to take her? What is defiling about that? Let's look at this word defile. Let's look at the word defile here.
Okay.
Let's see what defiles. Okay, she has been defiled. 29:30, right? And let's pull that up. And let's look at let's get the pronunciation. Tameh. All right. So Tameh is the Hebrew, right? And this is what it means in Brown's Driver Briggs in that particular passage. Let's drop the box. Let's look for Deuteronomy 24. Deuteronomy 24, Deuteronomy 24, Deuteronomy 24. Okay, here we go. It would be all the way at the bottom. Okay, Deuteronomy 24 is after she has been defiled sexually. So sexually, it's talking about her being defiled sexually. So she's released from the second marriage, right? Lawfully. So she's not necessarily defiled because she's released from the marriage, and she's not necessarily released from the marriage because she did anything indecent that she did in the first marriage, right? So in this case, it is referring to her being defiled sexually. So how sexually is she defiled? And that's what we want to talk on tonight. We want to go deeper. Is, what makes this defiling to her, and why does Yahweh want his creation to remain clean? Why is this defiling for this woman to go back to? Because that's really what the issue is. It's not her going to another man because the husband has died. We just read that in Paul's writing in Romans 7, right? So she's free to marry, but she's not. The man that divorced her the first time is not free to take her back. It's not free to take her back. And so that's what we want to talk on. Why is he not free to take her back? Why is this something that Yahweh hates, he loathes? Let's look up this word abomination, just for clarity's sake. And to defining our terms, abomination. Here we go, 8441. And this is the pronunciation. Toeva. All right, so Toeva. And we're going to go down to the Browns drivers. Let's collapse it. 24, Deuteronomy 24, Deuteronomy 24, Deuteronomy 24, Deuteronomy 24. Did you see it? Do you see it, brother? Deuteronomy 24.
Taking a look to see if I see it also.
I see Deuteronomy, but I don't see it, chapter 24.
I don't see it either.
It's not in there. So if it's not in there, then I'm assuming that we definitely should just take the most basic definition.
It should be somewhere there between.
No. So let me go up to the Strong's definition. The Strong's definition is this. It is properly something disgusting, morally, and aberrant. So in this case, it's disgusting sexually, right? It's an abhorrence, especially idolatry or concrete idol, abominable custom thing. So this is obviously just something that's disgusting to Yahweh. So for the first husband to take her back after when she's gone out and she's released from the second husband after the first husband, it is disgusting in Yahweh's sight. It's disgusting in his sight for what reason? Because she has been defiled in what manner? This brown driver said, sexually. She's been defiled sexually.
Mm-hmm.
So she was legally married to her husband. So how does this make it a defiling thing to have sex with her husband? Let's look at another passage. Hebrews 13. Right? Let's look at marriage. What does the text say about marriage? It says marriage is to be held in honor among all, and the marriage bed is undefiled, is to be undefiled. For fornicators and adulterers, Yah will judge. So if she left the first marriage lawfully, she left the second marriage lawfully, right? What is defiling about her sexually where the first man cannot go back into her after she's been with the second man sexually?
What comes to mind is an article that I think we kind of overview before about the chemical changes that the woman has when she's with the man. And I feel that maybe it's a chemical and change that happens. And for him to take her back, would cause an issue to a next level that we're not aware of. That slowly science is catching up to that aspect, of where some women, they're able to do what they would say like an autopsy, and they're able to trace back all the men she have been with intimately through her brain and also through her spine.
Okay.
So I think it's some aspect of some kind of issue you're causing to the woman, because she's the receiver and she's a sponge. So that's what comes to my mind from
that's what comes to
that
mind.
aspect.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, since you're gonna go there, my brother, what does the sciences say? And I thought it would be fitting tonight if we dealt with an article or two or three that dear Dr. Jonathan Baruch released and shared when he did the interview with Pete. And so I think it would be good for this discussion that we go, let's peruse through two or more of those articles so that we can let's see what the scientists are saying about this, because if it's sexually, it's obviously something scientific going on. We're not talking about, we're not talking about something spiritually per se, because she's been spiritually released according to the law. She's been spiritually released. Shalom, brother Shalom. He says, "Shalom, brother, is glad to catch the stream again." And it's shalom, shalom, and it's a blessing to have you again with us, brother. Blessing. So definitely it's sexually is what is the defilement that is disgusting in the eyes of Yahweh. So let's take a look. I'm gonna pull this out and let me pull up my screen.
While you're pulling up that article, what comes to my mind also is when I was one of those kind of 60 minutes stories when they spoke about manufacturing plants when they release chemicals and it contaminates the land. And since the land like of the womb of the woman is like a land, it can contaminate that soil that you want to create life with.
Exactly. So the woman, you're saying that the woman's body or womb or vagina is like it's like the land, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pull this article up. I got the first article. And matter of fact,
plus another thing that we have mentioned before in past Masculine Monday also, where we see the character and the change of the woman changing slowly depending if she stays long with that man. So we can imagine the different kind of back and forth if she gets
Right,
together with
from between
yeah,
with two different men back and forth.
exactly.
Mm,
And the
mm.
imbalance that it probably can cause her personality and also.
Right. Okay. I could see that. I could definitely see that. That could definitely be an issue. Like there's a tug of war, is what you're saying,
Yes.
between the effects of each man's DNA. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So
Because when
let
we
me.
sexually get together with people, there's not also that exchange of the sperm with the
Mhm,
woman, but it's also that
mhm.
and that vibe from that person. You know, you can
Right.
even make maybe that woman, she deals with you long enough, she ends up liking spicy food, and she never did like spicy food before.
Right. That much of an effect is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So
Look at the
let's
title of
let's
all
dig
things.
into this. So we're touching on now, and we're answering the question, what does the sciences say? And I think it's very important that we consider what the sciences say. Take it is that the text doesn't show that there's something spiritually, but something sexually that is an issue. So definitely, I thought it would be uh, a good thing for us to, like I said, peruse through some of these articles that the good doctor shared on Brother Pete Rambo's channel. Excuse me, about almost a year ago. And so the one of the first articles that he went through was on an article from a called the Royal Society, and this is a definitely of people that are on that echelon who are medical doctors and professionally trained in the field, who are qualified, who do studies. I guess this is where they post. Matter of fact, let me let it speak for itself. Let's look at who is about us. Who is the Royal Society? I'm a novice, right? I'm not a doctor. So
Really, yes. Yeah.
let's go
So
into
we're
the
gonna dig
description.
into the paperwork and
Yeah,
article together.
yeah. Let's look into the description of who these people are at the Royal Society, right? The Royal Society is a fellowship of many of the world's most eminent scientists, and is the oldest scientific academy in continuous existence. All right, so I think that says a lot right there, right? So these are heavyweights in the field of science, right? And it's a long-standing institution. So the title of the article is "Semen Takes Control of Female Genes," and this was published back in September 12th of 2012, right? So this is this is 2024. So this is a 12-year or almost a 12-year old article. And this is what it reads. It says, sex can trigger remarkable female responses, including altering fertility, immunity, libido, eating, and sleep patterns by the activation of diverse sets of genes, according to the research published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B today. Researchers at the University of East Anglia studied how female Drosophila melanogaster, or fruit flies, so this is the technical term for fruit flies, respond to mating. They discovered that a single protein found in semen generates a wide range of responses in many genes in females. So, one single protein found in the semen of the male fruit fly generates a wide range of responses in many genes in females, which becomes apparent at different times and in different parts of the female's body following mating. The findings could, in principle, be akin to responses in many animals, including humans.
Humans.
Right. Lead researcher Professor Tracy Chapman from not you. I got a fast car, Tracy Chapman. Lead researcher Professor Tracy Chapman from UEA School of Biological Sciences said it's already known that seminal fluid proteins transferred from males during mating cause remarkable effects in females, including altered egg laying, feeding, immunity, sleep patterns, water balance, and sexual receptivity. We tested here the effects of one enigmatic seminal fluid protein known as the sex peptide and found it to change the expression of remarkable array of many genes in females, both across time and in different parts of the body. There were significant alterations to genes linked to egg development, early embryogenesis, immunity, nutrient sensing, behavior, and unexpectedly phototransduction. Transduction. Okay, let me see if I can define what that word means. I don't know if I got a dictionary, but I'm gonna try to look. You know what that word means?
I'm gonna look it up for you also. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
phototransduction.
definitely deep in that medical field.
It says search on Yahoo for proto. Here I go. I got it. Visual phototransduction is the sensory transduction process of the visual system by which light is detected by photoreceptor cells in the vertebrate retina. A photon is absorbed by a retinal chromophore, each bound to an opsin, which initiates a signal cascade through several intermediate cells, then through the retinal ganglion cells comprising the optic nerve. Okay, so whatever it is,
it affects the woman to that cellular level.
Right. So that's the level. This is one of the effects because it's also talking about it links to eggs development. It links to this sex peptide that they studied.
Correct.
There were significant alterations to genes linked to egg development, embryogenesis, early embryogenesis. So even the beginning of the embryo is affected by this this sex peptide protein that they had. They took a sample and studied immunity, the immune system, right? The nutrient sensing, the behavior, right? So the behavior of the female is affected by this, and unexpectedly phototransduction. I'll get that word by the end of the night, or the pathways by which they see it. It showed that the semen protein is a master regulator. And this is, I remember Dr. Jonathan highlighting this point in that interview, that it's, this protein is a master regulator throughout a woman's system, which ultimately means that males effectively have a direct and global influence on the behavior and the reproductive system of the female. Now, could that be? Okay, let's go back to our text.
Correct.
Well, let's go back to our text. Let me see. Could that be in the verse 4 of Deuteronomy 24 is what makes her defiled? Because remember the definition of this word defiled, right? It is defiled in the sexually, right?
Into the intimacy of them, yes.
Right, right. So it's sexually, the woman becomes defiled, and so it becomes an abomination in Yahweh's eyes for the former husband, the first husband, to take her back, right? To take her back, and that's the link here. So
something comes to my mind too, Brother Mike.
It is a master. Think about it. Yeah. So, Yeshua said this. This is another one. This is another passage. I can't think of the verse, but but you've seen this one before. When they try to say, hold on a second. He says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one in Matthew 6:24 and love the other, and he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both Yah and wealth. So here's the question. If this protein is a master regulator, right? Can this woman serve two masters?
She cannot serve two masters.
She cannot serve two masters.
And what just came to my mind while we were looking over that too, it puts it in danger of a woman who is being promiscuous.
Exactly. Mixing seeds, and a man then has right away go ahead and has a child with her. It's pretty much affecting his child, because now his child is getting no characteristics of him. Right, because
he's getting characteristics of the last person she was with.
Exactly, because
who did not give enough time for herself to.
No, not just the last person. He says there were significant alterations to genes linked to egg development.
Exactly.
So the development of the eggs are altered, right, by previous sexual contacts.
There we go.
So could this be the missing link, right? Could this be the very elephant in the room as to why Deuteronomy 24 says that she is defiled to the first husband sexually?
I think we literally digged into the word and we found a link. Literally, we found a link.
Yeah, and the article says genes linked. Right, so there were significant alterations to genes linked to egg development. So these master regulator proteins made significant alterations to genes linked in the woman to egg development, early embryogenesis. So that's the early stages of the embryo, the early affecting of the embryo, right? Immunity. So all of these things is going
the foundation of the woman. Yes,
is right. But here's the problem with, like you said, her being a 304, her dealing with multiple men, her being a jump off.
It shows the danger of she having how they say the body count or the amount of people she's been with, the danger of it,
the high body count, right?
Yes,
the high body count,
definitely. Yes,
is the high body count actually exposes her, right, to having multiple masters, right, all influencing, right,
with significant altercations to her genes,
her system at the same time. Her genes are being altered, right, at the same time by multiple masters, multiple master regulators, all at the same time. So, you know, a child can literally take on traits, one
nothing
trait
related
per man, or blended traits, right?
Wow.
You know, blended traits from multiple men, you know, and so now could this be the reason why, you know, we have these chronic illnesses, you know, children are born with, you know, certain deformities, you know, could this be why we see such ill effects on unborn children or children that are actually born, you know?
Could be.
Yes. So
because at time, let's say for example, she has a child, she doesn't have as herself or a gene as a foundation itself prior to being alternated, right? She doesn't have certain kind of a specific health issues.
Right.
The father doesn't have any either, but the past men she were with did
had
have them.
these issues, had these
Now she
issues.
has a child, and the child had something that never came from the father,
Right,
never
right.
came from her either.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
From a
And
from a
and
whole
and
different
so
group.
and so to the question that we asked in the very beginning, why does Yahweh want his creation to remain clean? So it's not only that, you know, there's the potential of previous men regulating, but it's whatever diets these previous men had, their lifestyle. So if they're eating a bunch of unclean foods, if they have an unclean diet, if they have certain illnesses, chronic illnesses, diseases, or what have you, all of these have the potential to affect the early embryogenesis, the the egg development. It has the ability to affect the immunity of her and the baby. Nutrient sensing, the behavior, right? So child bucked wow acting and stuff and whatnot. Could it be from a previous man, right? That the woman has had sex with?
Correct.
Right.
And
So
and also another thing comes to mind, if it can alternate the genes to that extent, the
mhm,
woman is no longer who she used to be.
right. Well, I mean, and
Because she picks up habits and traits of the men she have dealt with.
I think isn't that the intent? I mean, the intent is that she is supposed to assimilate to her husband, but she's not intended by Yahweh to have many husbands.
And many
You
husbands
know,
makes her unable to connect with her husband,
right, right,
making
and
it
that
easier for her to continue to do
be,
what she does.
because here's the thing: it affects the behavior.
There
So
you go.
now,
There we
if she has these behavioral traits, that's linked from 10 different men, right? Like how do you bond to just one man? How do you connect with just one man?
It gives you a
When
whole different situation of saying, am I talking to you or am I talking to your
right,
many representatives?
right. Your many masters, right? Your many
Exactly. Yeah.
master regulators, right? Your many master regulators is the question. So which ultimately means that males effectively have a direct global influence on the behavior and reproductive system of the female. Such effects may well occur across many species. An additional and intriguing twist is that the effects of semen proteins can favor the interests of males whilst generating costs in females, resulting in sexual conflict. For example, there can be a tug of war where males employ semen proteins to ensure that females make a large investment in the current brood, even if that doesn't suit the longer term interests of the female. So there's the struggle because, you know, what the male proteins are doing is that they're fighting to conquer this woman, overthrow this woman. There's a tug of war going back. So now she's got a fight with one dude going on inside of her internally, but then there's still the fight with the 7 other dudes that she got going on at the same time. So that seems like that opens the door for a lot of confusion, especially if she's dealing with multiple men at the same time.
It makes it for the concern of why is it that it's such a high rate of women who need therapy and go
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
therapy and
Mm-hmm.
consistently
Mm-hmm.
need to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they're having issues, they're having a conflict and a
Right.
battle within their own
Right.
body in the gene aspect. So now that they're having that battle with the gene aspect, how can they even be submit to the Lord or to
Right.
their husband?
Right.
All of this
Exactly.
comes into an equation of issues.
Right. Exactly. 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 Yeah. I definitely see the I thought I you know what it is? I must have deleted that one. Um this one.
And this is what I think that grandmothers and mothers and older females need to teach
Mhm.
younger ones to be aware of. And I think they
Right.
don't do such a great job at that,
Well,
to the
I mean,
detriment of the situation.
again, the bottom line is scripture is not being taught as it is commanded to be taught to children. And Yah's law is supposed to have been taught to the generations to come. Each generation going all the way back to the very first law. That was the original intent. Adam was given the law, and Adam taught it to his woman, and in turn, they were supposed to teach these laws to their children. But we know that there was an interference in that process because of their sin. And so we see this in Genesis. I mean, in the Torah, we see in the book of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, the 4th chapter, that it is the parents' responsibility. Let's look at that passage for sake of this discussion so that the listening audience can come away with this as well. Let me take this to okay, here we go. 6:4, right? Deuteronomy. It says, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is our Elohim. Yahweh is one. You shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." So clearly, this was the intent, that that the Torah was to be taught to the generations to follow.
Yes.
Yahweh wanted his people. Shalom, brother Manilow, man. You were on my
Shalom,
mind.
brother.
You were on my mind. I hope all is well, man. We gotta connect, man. Good to see you, brother. Blessings to you. Hope all is well. Yeah, so clearly Yahweh, his intent is that his law be passed on to future generations. For what reason? So that future generations will have an understanding of what he intends in his mind. What is his blueprint for how we ought to function, especially when it comes to sex, and why virginity is important, and why it's not important to mix seed, as we see in Deuteronomy 24.
The dangers of it, the warnings we have. Yeah.
And the powerful, awesome thing about this is that he revealed this to his people long before scientists came out with these studies and these articles in 2012.
Very much so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Showing the book that is beyond ahead of its time and beyond way ahead of all of us.
And
this is where it comes back into when we were having a conversation of he's beyond our understanding. There it is again. Once again, proving that point. We're just arriving there, and he's already been there already.
And we're always playing catch up.
Yeah.
We'll always be playing catch up, and that's the reality. We'll always be playing catch up. So
we're making the mac and cheese is already. The macaroni is already done.
It's already done. And he picking his teeth. We just going to the supermarket, right?
It's finally getting there, Oh, right. yeah. We can mix it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is another article that he put up in this interview that he shared in the interview with Pete last year. And this one is newscientist.com. So obviously this is a scientist website or a scientist-based website. And they talk on a similar topic. And this was in 2015, in July. And it says seminal fluids alters gene expressions in females, including humans. So it's more than one source that is saying that it's humans as well. It's not just animals, right? But it's in humans. It can even alter behavior in fruit flies, but does it do the same in women, right? So here's some sperm cells, all right? It says there's more to semen than sperm. In many animals, seminal fluid alters both the bodies and sometimes even the behavior of females. Human semen too triggers changes in the uterus and might have wider effects on women aimed at just one goal. It's all about maximizing the chances of the male reproducing, says Sarah Robertson of the University of Adelaide in Australia. The effects are most striking in fruit fly. Seminal fluid can make the female eat more, lay more eggs, and be less receptive to other males. Now, a team led by Tracy Chapman, right, talking about the same study at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, UK, has found that male fruit flies selectively alter the chemical makeup of their seminal fluid in the presence of rivals. The males, so in the presence of rivals. So, this is not even talking about, what's going on with a human woman that is mixing seed. So this obviously, as in the previous article, there's a tug of war that's going on already between the man and the woman, right? Now
Correct, yes.
it's the woman and the men that she has is actively having has exactly. In the presence of rivals, the males in the presence of rivals, the males produce more seminal proteins. It came as a real surprise, says Chapman. It's a sophisticated response to the social and sexual situation. Some of their findings were presented at the Society for Molecular Biology and Evolution conference in Vienna, Austria last week, including the discovery that one of the proteins is a master regulator of genes. Females exposed to it show a wide range of changes in gene expression. Chapman thinks this kind of seminal signaling is widespread in the animal world. The semen of people, pigs, and mice affects the female reproductive tract, and the question is whether it can also produce behavioral responses in female mammals similar to those seen in fruit flies. Effects of sperm on female body. There have been claims that semen can do everything from making women sleepy after sex to strengthening the emotional bond with their partner. One study in 2002
that's a while.
Based on survey of 300 students, even found that women whose partners did not use condoms scored lower on a measure of depression. Wow. So women in that particular study who had sex without a condom scored lower measures of depression, or scored lower on the measuring of depression. And if that effect is real, depression in some people might be treatable with artificial semen suppositories.
Wow.
Gordon Gallup of the State University of New York at Albany, who carried out the study, says a PhD student of his has replicated the finding in a survey of 1,000 women, but the results were never published. So another study that was done but wasn't published of 1,000 women confirms it even stronger, that this is true, that the semen has an effect on a woman's depression, significantly lowering, giving it a lower measure, right? In flies, seminal proteins can directly affect behavior because they enter the circulatory system, traveling throughout the body to the brain. They rapidly get to many places in the female, Chapman says. From the female's perspective, seminal signaling is usually nothing sinister. According to Chapman, it's an efficient way of getting a female's body ready to produce offspring as soon as possible. It's not clear whether any components of human semen get in the bloodstream, but it could be possible, particularly for small molecules like hormones, says Robertson. She has known that seminal fluid induces expressions of range of genes in the cervix, right? So it affects the genes in the cervix area, including the ones that affect
There we
immune
go again.
system, ovulation in women, right? And this is with humans. The receptivity of the uterus lining to an embryo, and even the growth of the embryo itself. Imagine, man, you know, you 5'2", your wife is 5 feet, but your son is 7'10", 7'2". You're gonna have some wondering, like, what was she doing? Think about it, man. Yeah.
Who was she dealing with prior to me?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's the immediate thought, right? All right. So it says, as for seminal signaling, she thinks it's more likely to be indirect, with semen causing the cervix to produce molecules that influence the rest of the body. Her team is studying the effect of 3 microRNAs, RNA fragments that affect gene expression released by the cervix is in response to semen, whatever the mechanism. Both Chapman and Robertson say it's plausible that semen could have effects on women well beyond their productive tract.
This article in itself, it's like a series by itself without even going to any other article. The article in itself covered so much, such a broad aspect of many things. And it proves this one thing that many people have been thinking about, but finally we have something to match it scientifically, is the dangers of picking the wrong men that you decide to be intimate with.
Right, or the dangers of picking the wrong woman.
Oh, there you go too. There you go too. Yeah.
Yeah, picking the wrong woman, man. Yeah.
Sorry for making it now Woman Monday. I forgot it's Masculine Monday. Yeah, but it's the dangers of that, because you could be thinking you're dealing with a woman directly, but you're dealing with every previous man she dealt with. So you're dealing with multiple personalities, somebody, and they're not even aware of it.
Right. Exactly.
They're not acting the right way. They can't connect with you.
Because because what's going on is that, these fragments of these DNA in this from this protein that are from the men, they have programming. They're communicating information. They're active. They're living. They're communicating information. One lady, the sexual contact she had, until she died, was 50 years later. It was still living inside of her. As long as she's eating, right? She's the host. She's the host, right? And so those male genes are still living, and they're still sending information. They're still sending data into the cells of the woman.
I think that's why the Lord says in the passage that he said, if he gives her the bill of health for her to go, but he can't take her back.
Exactly.
That comes into the key point there.
Exactly. You got it. Spot on.
Too many mixtures, too many information being given.
Right.
We have the best way I could put it for many of us. I like to put it in simplest form sometimes. Is like having a computer tower, and you're running 3 different operating systems on there. The computer is never going to work fine You know, you got
No,
Linux, and you got Windows running. It's gonna be a problem.
it's going to be a problem. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
And
All
then
right. So
we arrive with an Apple system keyboard, and we
keyboard.
wonder what's going on. Nothing is
What's going
working right. You're trying to get along with her. You're trying to understand her, but you can't connect with her. There's issues.
on? Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. You keep getting worse and worse, brother.
Hey, hey, blame it on the doctor, man. This is Dr. Yan, man. Dr. Yan, man.
I'm saying only these 3 articles alone. This is like an extended series right here. All of them.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Blame it on Dr. Yan, man. Hey, I'm not the doctor, man. I'm just passing the information.
Hey, we're not blaming. Hey, we appreciate the study, but wow.
Manilo says, LOL, I used to dual boot. I don't know.
Dual boot.
My main computer is Linux. I like that better.
Okay, no problem. Red Hat.
Yeah. All right. So here's the next article, right? And this particular was on yournewswire.com, right? And the article is titled "Women Absorb and Retain DNA from Every Man They Have Sex With." That's fascinating, right? So scary too, right? Says women retain and carry living DNA from every man with whom they have had sexual intercourse, according to a new study by the University of Seattle and the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. The study, which discovered the startling information by accident, was originally trying to determine if women who have been pregnant with a son might be more predisposed to certain neurological diseases that occur more frequently in males. But as the scientists picked apart the female brain, right, in their autopsies of these deceased women, the studies began to veer wildly off course. As it turns out, the female brain is even more mysterious than we previously thought. The studies found that female brains often harbor male microchimerism, right? Or, in other words, the presence of male DNA that originated from another individual and are genetically distinct from the cells that make up the rest of the woman. So, genetically, these cells, this DNA, right, are not of the woman's makeup, right? So they're obviously from a totally different individual. They originally thought in doing this study that this may have been from which they found by accident. They figured this out by accident in studying these deceased women with these illnesses, and they found deposits of DNA inside their brains, fragments of DNA inside their brains. And so they call this micromerism, right, which come from Greek mythology, two deities or two Greek gods joining together and becoming one thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the concept here. And so the presence of male DNA is found inside these women, right? And when they did further study, it wasn't what they originally assumed, that it was because the women have had children. These are women, many of these women they were never even pregnant. But nevertheless, they had these deposits of male DNA inside their brain, right? And so according to the study, 63% of the females, age 37 or 49, tested harbored male micromerism in the brain. Male micromerism was present in multiple brain regions. So 60% of the women carry male DNA cells that live in their brains. Obviously, the researchers wanted to know where the male DNA came from. So anyone care to guess from the woman's father? No. Your father's DNA combines with your mother's DNA to create your unique DNA. So where else could it be from? Through the study of researchers assumed that the most likely answer was that all male DNA found living in the female brain came from a male pregnancy. That was the safe, politically correct assumption. So they wanted to, you know, say that it was a previous pregnancy that these women had. But
When
these
that's when
research,
they have their agenda, and the
oh
boss
yeah,
has his agenda already placed.
exactly. They stare in science. They tried to stare science, but it didn't happen. Y'all wouldn't let it happen, right? So, but these researchers were living in denial because when they autopsied the brains of women who had never been pregnant, let alone with a male child, they still found male DNA cells prevalent in the female brain. At this point, the scientists didn't know what the hell was going on. Confused, they did their best to hide the evidence until they could understand and explain it. They buried it in numerous sub-studies and articles, but if you sift through them all, you will find the damning statement, the one line that gives away and explains exactly where these male DNA cells come from. What are they so afraid of? Conclusions. Male micromonism was not infrequent in the women without sons. Besides known pregnancies, other possibilities, sources of male recombinants include unrecognized spontaneous abortion, vanished male twin, and older, and that's like a woman that's pregnant with twins, and then one twin dies and just absorbs and
Okay.
doesn't survive through the complete birth process or pregnancy process, right? So then only one child is born, right? So they were assuming that these cells were coming from those children, vanished male twins or uh, some abortion or what have you, an older brother transferred by the maternal circulation or sexual intercourse, right? They put that in capital letters, right? Male micromerism was significantly more frequent and levels were higher in women with induced abortion than in women with other pregnancy histories. Further studies are needed to determine specific origins of male micromerism in women. So, according to the scientists, the possible sources of the male DNA cells living in a woman's brains are an abortion the woman didn't know about, a male twin that vanished, an older brother transferred by maternal circulation, sexual intercourse. Considering the facts that 60% of the women have male DNA cells residing in the recesses of their brains, which of the above possibilities do you think is the most likely origin of the male DNA? The first three options apply to very small percentage of women. They couldn't possibly account for the 63% figure. The fourth option, it's rather more common. The answer is 4, sex. This has very important ramifications for women. Every male you absorb spermatozoa from becomes a living part of you for life. The women autopsied in this study were elderly. Some had been carrying the living male DNA inside them for well over 50 years.
Oh
Sperm,
my goodness.
yes, sperm is alive. It is living cells. When it is injected into you, it swims and swims until it crashes headlong into a wall, and then it attaches and burrows into your flesh. If it's in your mouth, it swims and climbs into your nasal passages, inner ear, and behind your eyes. Then it digs in and enters your bloodstream and collects in your brain and spine. Wow. Sperm ain't no joke. No, sperm is like a superhero, man.
He does not just vanish.
Not at all.
You
Not at all.
know,
He's not a quitter.
he's living somehow, somewhere.
like like something out of a sci-fi movie, it becomes a part of you and you can't get rid of it, we are only now beginning to understand the full power and ramifications of sexual intercourse. So, what does
History
that mean?
articles are so powerful.
Powerful,
It's
man.
it's 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 like you need a 2 minutes of whoa.
Yes, 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 yes. So
It
definitely,
puts a lot of things into place now. A
and
lot of
lots of putting
things.
things into place. So now we're seeing why more and more when we read these articles,
Mm-hmm.
why Yahweh is so disgusted with a man taking back a woman that he previously divorced who had sex with another man since then.
Correct.
Because the intermingling of the sperm cells defiles the woman.
Correct.
Defiles the woman. And so
it also puts in point the dangers of also that why we have seen the rise of heavy masculinity.
right.
It's
Right.
not only the aspect of femininity giving them the perspective to carry themselves that way. It's also the fact that something that we never put together is this. During the same time of the femininity, the feminist movement was starting to really get a good footing. That's the same time that the slut walk came into play. At the
Yes.
same
Yes.
time, came
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Now affecting now showing the after effects of that, how the woman is acting very masculine because of the many, sperms still active and they're not going anywhere. There's no
Yeah.
antivirus to get them out.
Yeah.
They're just there. They're just living,
Right.
and they
And so,
just they put up their tent. They put up their little fire truck. They put up their RV. They ain't going nowhere.
so the aggression makes sense.
Correct.
The aggression that they're walking
But
around
also it
with.
shows the instability also from them that they're having because
Mm-hmm.
you have too many camps. It's like you have in a little camper and you only can fit about one or two, and you have now 15 people trying to
Right.
share this, trying to same RV. The RV is not getting any bigger,
Right.
but now you're having too many people to fit in the RV.
Right. And if you have 5 supervisors and you're the only one worker underneath all of the 5 supervisors, that's very confusing. Because one will tell you to do one thing, the other one will tell you to do something else. You'll be going back and forth and that's
Correct.
That's how the women are. They got all these
Correct.
master regulators, right?
Yeah, I have had personal situations like that, and being that I'm not the, I know we don't have some of the other panels tonight, and it is us too, but I'm the one few single one in the group, and I've seen that definitely. I'm speaking to the person. They seem to have a very mellow personality. And I just say one thing of disagreement, and the reaction is completely goes to the left randomly. And you're like, whoa, is this the same person? It's like I'm talking to 3 different persons in one.
Yeah. Or you're so confused and you're walking on eggshells because you don't know which one you're going to want it to.
Yeah, exactly. You have it like,
you're going to run into, like, oh my God, who's going to show up tonight?
What were we talking to today? Why are you in a good mood today? And tomorrow,
it's flipped. Yeah. Varzilla 1 says, don't forget the free love movement of the 60s. That was also the time of the feminist movement. I think that's what you were basically saying, right?
Okay. Gotcha. Yes.
But yeah, definitely, man.
But I wonder that what he mentioned, what our listener mentioned. I wonder if it's at that time they had their own version of the slut walk, because I think the slut walk went on for a couple of years. It was like an annual thing for a while. I don't know how long it lasted.
Yeah,
and it still goes on, but it's under a different umbrella name or so.
Yeah.
But that really went a little bit wild there. That's when things really, it seems like the floodgates came through.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about marriage, right? And I'm going to segue into something else here. But when we talk about marriage, or we talk about the relationship between men and women, you know, certainly we've talked about here on in this show, we've talked about on this channel of the different types of marriages, right? And I want to pose it into a question, right? And here's the question: between the following four, which sexual constructs is more likely to prevent against mixing seed? Which sexual construct prevents against the act of mixing seed, or the action or the ongoing action of mixing seed? Would it be, does prescriptive monogamy, the policy and the belief and the doctrine and the laws that says that a man can only have one woman, does that prevent against mixing seed most likely? Or does polyamory, where people are not necessarily married, but they're in like this group relationship where the women are having sex with multiple men, the men are having sex with multiple women, the men are having sexual relationships with each other, the women are having sexual relationships with each other. So it's a free-for-all, kind of like what Varzilla talked about, that free love, right? Thing that's going on in the 60s, right? Going into the 70s. Okay, so that would be more so the polyamory. There's a lot of talk today. People talk about poly life, and that's really what they're talking about. They're talking about open relationships, not necessarily marriage, because the word poly means multiple, but the word amory stands for love, amor, right? You're a Spanish man, so you know amor,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
As opposed to monogamy means one, single, and the word gami, or the root of it is gami, which is marriage, one marriage. Whereas polyamory is multiple loves, or multiple lovers, is what polyamory is about. Okay, and I'm gonna get back to Jim Mars' question, but let me finish posing this question, and I'm gonna get to Jim Mars. Polyamory and then polyandry, right, is a woman having multiple men, right? So-called quote unquote is in a marriage, but it's really just a woman having multiple men. It's not really marriage, not in a biblical sense, right?
Correct.
And then, of course, finally, we have polygyny, or polygamy, right? And that is a man having multiple women, right? So, which one of these of the four constructs fights against the most the idea of mixing seed? We say mixing seed is bad. Yah says that he disgusts it, he despises it, right?
Correct.
And so which construct fights against it? Is it prescriptive monogamy? Is it polyamory? Is it polyandry? Or is it polygamy? Those of you who are in the viewing audience in the chat section, definitely I want you to chime in. Which one would you say? Is it number one, polygamy? I mean, you can I mean, it's listed up on the screen, so you guys can definitely look up
1, 2, 3, or 4. Yes.
1, 2, 3, or 4. So which one would you say is the one that fights against mixing seed in the culture the most? Which one is the best preventative tool or preventative construct against mixing seed?
I'm singing up.
Yeah. While you think on that, I want to take a
sure.
I want to Jen Mar, blessings to you, sister. Shalom. She says, does this also explain why the word flesh in the verse in Genesis that says that two shall become one flesh translates as a masculine noun, his flesh, and is also in reference to the male anatomy? Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. They become one in physical nature. They become one in their anatomy because he deposits himself inside her. She becomes a host that is an extension of who and what he is. Just like the ecclesia becomes a host, a temple for Yahweh, which is an extension, a representative that is reflective of him, that is made after his image and after his likeness here in the earth. And so, too, it's the same with what the woman does to the man. She becomes a host that becomes an extension. That's a very good point that you're bringing out, sister, that this is a conjoining of the two physically in his anatomy, you know. And that's the reason why Paul, and being that she brought up the D, don't forget your point. Okay, I'm gonna get back.
Definitely won't. I'm still here, no problem.
And she says 4. She says 4. She
not
says
a problem.
4. She
not
says
a
4.
problem.
That's her answer. Polygamy. She says, and Brother Mandelo says 4. He says definitely 4. But let's look at this passage and let's see, because I think Sister Jen definitely brings up an excellent point here that I think that we can
we definitely can dig into that more.
Into it more, entertain on it more. Let's look up the passage. All right, and that's in 1 Corinthians 6. So in 1 Corinthians 6, and this is a reference to sexual immorality. So obviously, there's a mix in the seed that's going on here in this passage, is what Paul is talking about, right? And starting with the 15th verse, he says, "Do you not know that your bodies are members of Messiah?" Right. So, what is the body? The body becomes the host, the vessel of which Messiah dwells within. Right.
Yes.
Shall I then take away the members of Messiah and make them members of a prostitute? May it never be. He says, or in verse 16, do you not know that the one who joins himself to a prostitute is one body with her? For he says the two shall become one flesh. So even in sexual immorality, in the Latin fornication, even in fornication, in sexual immorality, in porneia, that there is a conjoining of the flesh that takes place. The female takes in the male DNA. She absorbs the male DNA. And this is the problem. She's a sponge. And this is the problem with the prostitute, is because she has so many men. She probably can't even count, right? You know, in the tens of thousands that she has actually had sexual relation with. And she, with having so many men, she herself absorbs all of these men. And so the point that Paul is making here is, in the previous questions, he says, shall I then take away the members of Messiah and make them members of a prostitute? So the members of Messiah becomes members with the prostitute. They belong to each other. And so when he talks about I and my Father are one, I am in the Father and the Father is in me, you know, that's what we become with the Messiah. But when a man and a woman cohabitates with each other, has sexual relation, copulates, that's what actually happens. They literally become physically one. And we know this now scientifically on a molecular level, that the woman absorbs the DNA of the man, which makes her a host for his fragments of who and what this man is. And this makes them what is called one flesh in the Genesis. It's a great point, sister. I'm glad you brought that up. So
definitely very
Barzilla says polygamy. So now we waiting on Brother D to see, you know, what is his answer. Which one of these would you say is more likely or most likely to fight against, prevent against mixing seed? Which one would be
since I'm very much the rebel and the troublemaker in the group, you know, I gotta keep up to that name. And I would say two of them fit that criteria.
Okay. That
comes into place for that. Not every man has the care or they feel that they're equipped to manage two different lands or two
Mhm.
different soils. So they rather
Mhm.
just have one soil that they deal with. So I always
Okay.
like to leave that option open to the man to be self-aware and self-analyze himself and know
Mhm.
that he's capable of doing that, because to take on two different personalities or persons, it
Mhm.
is a lot of tasks that you're asking from the person. So you got to be honest with yourself if you can do manage that.
Right. Okay.
The second one, the first one out of all of them, I would surely pick number four, what is polygyny, and I
Mhm.
would say and monogamy is still an option there for
Okay.
me. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I
All
would
right.
say 4 and 1.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to dig a little bit further in your first answer,
Sure.
and that is prescriptive monogamy. Okay. Okay. Let's look at it this way. I'm going to give you a a scenario. Well, not really a scenario, but let's take a look at the reality.
Hmm.
Realistically, statistically, women generally outnumber men 13 to 1, right? You know, you talk about wars, we're not talking about
Correct.
birth rates, we're talking about wars, we're talking about men get sicker, women live longer, men are incarcerated, men fight in wars, men do more crazy, stupid stuff, right?
Yes,
So,
more
right,
riskier jobs and more
right,
dangerous
right.
jobs.
So I mean, there's more of a higher rate of men a male shortage than you have a female shortage. And so it typically, many have did studies and it analyses itself all the way down till about 13 to 1. So if every one man followed
Hmm.
this prescription that's
Hmm.
mandated by the government, mandated by the
Okay.
church, mandated by the culture, right?
Okay.
Right? Uh, every one man in the society decided that they were only going to get with one woman and one woman alone. One woman they have and one woman they will die with having,
Okay.
right? There's still 12 other men. I mean, there's still 12 other women because if that one man represents all men, then there is still 13 women, right? That in that representation that is not tied, not married, not spoken for. So what happens to those women? How do those women, does that, the 13, 12 women, right? And think of the 12 on in the billions, right? In the bottom of the
Hmm.
billions or millions, right? Think of the hundreds of millions or billions of women that's walking around and they can't get and they can't find a man to marry. Will their sexual drive just cease because there's no other option because of prescriptive monogamy and all of the men are just somehow just faithful to prescriptive monogamy and they're only just dealing with just rocking with just one woman? So does that mean that women's feelings, their emotions, their drive just automatically just shuts off? Brother D?
Okay. Not a problem. That was a very long question. I was waiting for you to
Yeah, I know,
stop
I know, I know.
there.
Yeah, I know you got lost in it, right?
No, I didn't get lost. I'm still with you. I was taking some notes as you were speaking.
Okay, so I
I would
mean, all right. So
I would
okay, so you got all of these single women, right?
uh-huh,
Just because men decide to follow prescriptive monogamy,
uh-huh,
and there are many more women, many 12 times over, who are single, right?
uh-huh.
In the millions, right?
Correct.
Does those women just shut off their feelings, their emotions, their drives because there's no more men available? What happens with those women?
I would say they don't have to shut off that aspect of themselves, but I would bring something for what the scripture said. If you find a wife, you find a good thing. And it's also about the quality of women out there. the quality and the substance of them is
Good point.
that's a tough one. That's a tough one
That's a
to
good
place.
point. But that's a good point. But here's the thing. Let's just say that the other 12 are not good quality. So if they're not good quality, then are they more prone to engaging in mixing seed or not mixing in seed?
I think some of the women's are already mixing seed. That's why we have the problem what we have in putting together a quality, finding a quality wife, because there's many brothers out there that actually are, they might not be the so-called high value or six figures or whatever it is, CEOs, but they're workers nevertheless, and they're
So
people
can
of
you
good quality and character, and they're not able to find good quality wives either because of the
so
issue
can
of the
you
mixing.
so can you say can you see that there is a strong likelihood that prescriptive monogamy encourages women to be promiscuous enough to mix seed or not?
No, I think that's a lack of morality, and also a lack of how they choose and how they choose to be
But what's
freely
influencing
willy
what's
dilly with everyone.
what what's influencing the choice?
I would say lack of how they're being brought up.
Okay, but
Like how we
okay,
mentioned earlier,
okay,
yeah,
okay. How they listen? You got girls that's brought up in good homes. You got some good,
Mm,
girls that come from some strict homes
yeah,
and
but
whatnot.
it's not the I think not always necessarily is the lack of strictness, is what you put as your compass. If you
Right.
put your compass in the Lord, and if you do things, you do your best to put things in a orderly
Mhm.
fashion, I think more likely you would be less likely to have a situation where you have them mixing seeds consistently. I think many times women pick men because of random reasons instead of saying, "Hey, Dad, I've seen this guy. What is your thought? What is your thought? Can you meet him?
But
What
let
is
me
your
ask.
thought? What you
But let me
think?"
ask you. Let me ask you this question: Is it more likely that women will pick men for random reasons, um, when there is less options for them to choose? So, in other words, if there is
Mhm.
the scarcity, right?
Uh-huh.
The scarcity make women just shut down, and shut off their desire and their drive to not want men at all, or does it heighten it?
I don't even think it's a scarcity, because look at the type of men they're picking. Many
No, no,
times
no, no,
these,
no.
yeah.
It's not a scarcity, but what I am saying is that according to the ratio, right?
Hmm.
Um, women are still having sex. The body count of women are high. Women engaging in sex is I mean, to find virgins in a Western culture is far and few. So women are having sex with a policy in place that is prescriptive monogamy. So the question is prescriptive monogamy making women less prone to mixing seed? Or it doesn't have any effect on preventing them from mixing seed? They're engaging in mixing seed, they're engaging in being promiscuous. Why? Because their standards are lowered. Their standards are lowered, number one, because they, they're the standards of men are not forced to be pushed to a higher level. In other words, anybody can get some skins. Anybody can go to a club and just get some numbers, get some digits, and just hook up. Anybody can just go onto a dating site and just hook up, right? you know,
Okay.
anybody can just buy a burger at McDonald's and get
But
some.
I have this other thing that I say, you can pick the horse that you wanna get on, was the horse that allows you to get on the horse.
This is true. Now, I'm not negating the fact that women, have a choice in the matter, but the reality is that the concentration, the pool of women, right,
Hmm.
are more promiscuous in this prescriptive monogamy culture as opposed to if they were in a traditional polygynous biblical culture. Why? Because if they were in a polygynous culture, then they would have been brought up under patriarchy. They would not be out dating. They would not out be trying to vet men. Their fathers would be vetting men for them. Their uncles, their brothers would be vetting men for them. And because they are left to the wolves by themselves, they're not making good choices. Plus, there's a shortage of men because the odds are 12-1. So they become easy. They become easier for men to seduce, to have sex with. The standards of women are lowered because men do not have to excel for virgins. Men do not have to do much if they want to get married. You understand? Like men don't even have to get married to have sex. You know what I'm saying? That's the day and age that we live in. Men can literally, just have children with the woman, right? Men are making babies and not even taking care of their babies. And so the demand for men to take on women as wives, for men to marry virgins, are in low existence within our society. And as a result of it, it is influencing women to lower their standards. And with women have lowered standards, and they're more prone to mix and seed. So prescriptive monogamy really puts women in a vulnerable, compromising position because there's not enough men around because of the prescriptive monogamy policy. And so therefore, they either choose to get with a man that's lying to them, have no intentions on marrying them, right? Is just looking for a good time, right? That's what they more than likely are going to run into. Because the pool of men are tremendously reduced. Good quality men are tremendously reduced in a prescriptive monogamy construct. Why men don't have to? They don't feel like they have to get married to have companionship with females. They can have companionship with numerous females and don't even have to have any ties to it. This opens the door for polyamory in a prescriptive monogamy society. It opens the door for it because, there's no incentive for people to commit. And women are not committing because the men don't feel like they have to commit on their end. And if men do commit, then that's even less men, good men that would marry, eligible for these women. So their drives, the sexual drives of these women don't stop. Their desire to be wanted don't stop. Their desire to be cuddled, held, right? Showed some attention, that doesn't stop. So any joker in the club that's willing to tell them that they look cute, they're willing to drop the drawers.
Yeah, but for me, that still comes down to that values and morality that was placed ahead of times and set. Because the men can, like I said, there's many guys out there in general that are, that they have good values, they had good core, they got a plan, they got a playbook, they had a blueprint that they want to set. But once again, like I said, these women, they go ahead and they make those choices. It's just like asking for a date or so. You knock on the door. It's like a scary movie. You know what I mean? They always say how the scary guy gets in is because you open the door. Right. Somebody knocks on the door don't necessarily mean you got to open the door, and they choose to open that door.
Exactly.
So I think for some men, they might feel that, they can balance one. Mm-hmm. And that should be an option that they have. And that's why I said for some who feel that they have that blueprint and that capability to deal with more than one, they surely can. There's nothing that's saying in the word at all, saying that they cannot.
Yeah, but see, the issue is on whether if a man decides that he's going to deal with one or not. It's not culturally acceptable for him to have multiple wives. That's one thing. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, there's a stigma placed on a woman who is willing to share with her man with other women. So
Mm-hmm.
women don't want that stigma. So they would rather secretly have sex with men that they may meet at the club or go out on a date with, right? Because they still have these drives, they still have these sexual needs, right? So they still would rather do that, compromise, even if they were taught the right values, right? They are,
But you
they
see
are
what happens though? We can go right into the what the article says though, because
what,
if they do not have, let's say, intimacy
mhm,
with a man prior before, let's say, meeting
right,
the right
right,
quality man, then
right.
these other aspects don't get increased.
But see, that's the problem.
Also,
The problem is that if you just deal with strictly prescriptive monogamy and only men, all men, right? If that means all men would be taken up, all marriage age men would be taken up, and there will be no men available for the 12 other women, right? In ratio.
I still think the balance what I'm mentioning would give that though. I think because yeah, I think it
How?
still allows that because I'm saying
It's
what
not mathematical.
no, I'm saying from the aspect of what I'm saying for if I go right back to it, right, the quality is also the quality of the woman. Not every woman's supposed to be married. That's the facts
No,
too.
no, no, no. But
Not all of them is set to be married either,
here's the deal.
because it's different levels of woman.
Yeah, but here's the deal. That's we only look at it that way because we've been so conditioned to compromise that we think that a woman not wanting to marry and not being prepared for marry is a norm. No, when you consider Israel, women from birth are being trained to be wives. And
There you
every
go.
girl
Back
is growing
again,
up with right.
family. Yeah.
Every girl is being raised. So again, in this prescriptive monogamy culture, right, that does not teach the Torah or teach the law to the children as prescribed in Scripture, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is compromise that's being taught as a result of the prescriptive monogamy culture that's being taught, that's being passed on to the next generations. And the problem is that the young ladies are put in a situation where there's less hope. There's less men to choose from, right? Or to choose them from, right? There's a less pool, right? The lesser pool of men. And as a result of this lesser pool, even if they wanted to get married, their better option would be if all these men decided that were available to marry, then that means there would still be 12 women mathematically left over, and the fact of that, the morality is in a compromising position. That is only reflective of, again, a society that has strayed away from, the order of the Father, Yahweh's order for humanity. And so as a result of this, it leaves women vulnerable and desperate, and it influences them to lower their standards, along with the principles that they're not being taught at home, along with the messages that's being communicated in culture that it's okay to shack up, it's okay to not be a virgin, it's okay. Like, these messages women are being inundated with inside this culture, especially in the dating culture. It's okay for a woman to have sex now. It's acceptable. And so as a result of these standards being lowered, right, and the
Uh-huh.
fact that there's not enough men mathematically in this prescriptive monogamy society, right, women are becoming more and more prone to mixing seed, because if they have a higher body count, then they've already mixed in seed. You
Yeah,
know.
but for me, I've always liked to put. Don't like to just put it. Yes, yes, we are males and we are leaders of things, but also put
Mhm.
accountability of the choices that the women have to make. Also,
Of course. I mean, without a doubt. But that's the whole point that I'm making. I'm saying that
gotcha.
their standards are lowered. Why are the standards lowered? Yes, we know fundamentally it's not being taught in the home like it should be, right? There's false teaching in the religion, right? Okay.
Correct.
Uh, it's definitely in the media. It's being influenced and pushed, right?
Yep.
In the educational system, right? In the laws, right?
Every
So
aspect we turn around, pretty much.
right, it's right. We're being inundated with compromise, but the just from the mathematical equation, there's not mathematically enough men to go around if the society was strictly monogamous. If everyone only practiced monogamy, there would be 12 women that will not be able to have a man. The only
Yeah,
reason why
but
they're able to have a man is because they're
yeah, but
sleeping on the street.
I'm not saying that the men have to strictly stick to monogamy. That's why I said
No, and
those two
I
things are
no,
there.
no.
Yeah.
Notice the question is which type of construct more than likely prevents against mixing seed. So when
Hmm.
if you choose prescriptive monogamy, you have to weigh out all of these things that we hashing out right now. Like you
Hmm.
got to factor in that women outpopulate men many times over. You have to factor in the moral decay that you're talking about, right?
I'm also putting in also the quality of the quality.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by the
Because
moral
just
decay.
because the because just because the like I said, just because the woman didn't, let's say she's not mixing seeds with many men, not
Mhm.
everybody is set for that mindset to be in to
And,
be
and and the only
to be in
reason
marriage.
why is because they're not being culturally prepared, and that's a fact. But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
again, you're
Correct.
talking about a prescriptive monogamy society going back over 150 years now, where it's been mandated on a national level, right? And so now, what has the 150 years done for the state of marriage in this country? People don't stay married together longer than, as they used to. You know, people don't value it the way that they used to, right? There's a whole lot more how would you say,
Division,
infidelities,
basically.
right,
Yeah.
within the marriages, like lying, cheating, right? All of that's being taken place because people don't value the marriage, and as a result of it, it doesn't stop people's natural inclinations from stopping. Men are still going to be sexually attractive to women. Women are still going to be sexually attractive to men. There's still going to be drives for the opposite sex. So just because you put people in a prescriptive monogamy society, that doesn't mean that they're going to want to have sex with the opposite sex any less. And so with all these factors in place, right? Um, the only one that seems like it probably makes the most sense to prevent against mixing seed would be polygyny, because in polygyny, children are taught and prepared for marriage. In polygyny, it's patriarchal. In polygyny, fathers chaperone and broker the deal of their daughters getting married. They give their daughters into marriage. They determine who their daughters are going to marry, as opposed to women trying to feel it out by sleeping around with different men. You know what I'm saying? Playing the field.
Okay.
In what's done in a dating culture in prescriptive monogamy, right? So in prescriptive in polygamy, that's not how it's done, you know. And so, it definitely promotes a society where women are going to be sleeping around less. You're going to see less mixing of seed in a polygamous or polygyny society, as opposed to you would see in a prescriptive monogamy society, for sure, hands down, hands down. You can't really compare the two. That doesn't mean that women don't commit adultery in polygamy. It doesn't mean that people's marriages stay together in polygamy, but the numbers are far less. Even today, like, I posted a video from a short from one of my previous videos, just on that fact in and of itself, that in a prescriptive monogamy society, the divorce rate is higher than that of in a polygamous society. If you look at all of the polygamy societies, the societies that practices polygamy, wherever they may be throughout the world, Africa, Middle East, whatever, wherever they are around the world, and you look in those specific countries, marriage rates and divorce rates, people tend to stay married more and divorce less in those countries than they do in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, right, in Australia, in Western societies that have prescriptive monogamy policies. They tend to stay in those polygamous cultures, they tend to stay married longer. They value marriage more. Why? Number one, they're taught to value it more, right? There's laws in place to promote it, right? And women are not free to just go around and just date and just have sex with multiple men throughout their lives. It just doesn't happen. You know? So I know we've been on this for a while. So I got that feeling.
We're digging into the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got
that's
that
what we're doing.
Exactly. I got that feeling that I've been talking a bit. Yeah, but definitely, what are we saying here? What are we saying here tonight? You know, what's the overall thing in biblically masculine men do not mix seed? What's the main message would you take away from this today, Brother D?
I would say that mixing up the seeds is not something you want to engage in, get into, or be avidly doing consistently, because it would just cause a disaster and issues for you in many different ways, as we see in the articles.
Health, right? Yeah,
health,
confusion.
Having a possible spouse with different personalities, having conflict within herself. You know, you having a child that picking up DNA or characteristics that are not yours.
Not
you
yours.
Know, might look like you, but not necessarily have characteristics or any traces of you.
Yeah,
that
that's
causes
a problem.
lot of confusion in your home.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a serious problem.
Very serious one. Yeah,
for sure. Makes me think of Sarah Lang's story. They did a movie, and she was a South African woman who was born to white parents in apartheid South Africa.
Wow.
Back in like the 40s.
Yeah.
50s,
during those times,
40s, 50s. Yeah, during those times. And I tell you the hell that she had to go through, being disowned by her father, you know, being mistreated in society, her mother being blamed of cheating on the father. And she may not have, it's very well possible that the mother didn't, you know, commit adultery, but it's possible she could have had sex with a black man.
Even prior to the marriage itself, too. Yeah.
Right.
Now that we know about the DNA being alive, they don't die. They still live.
Yes. And Mandela said he's seen that movie. Yes. Yeah, no, seriously, it's you know, it's like it's sad, like how human beings can be towards each other, that, you know, this woman had to suffer to this degree, you know, with her family, but and her people. But, you know, just the reality of the mixing seed and what it can, and we don't know whether that's really actually the case, but now knowing, now that we have the knowledge, this knowledge, like that's probably what happened. You know,
it definitely could be something that if we had the right information and stuff to go back and even look into. You know, that'd be interesting.
In that apartheid prescriptive monogamy society, you know, mother, when she was younger, probably decided that she was going to have fun with the help.
Anything is possible, yeah.
You know, have fun with the help.
Possibly it never necessarily needed to be with the help. It could be with whoever, you know. Sometimes it'd be the person closer to you, because even though during those times, you know, you have certain people who had even status at that time too, who were
Right.
benefiting in other ways. So you never
Right.
know who it could
Never
be.
know. Never know. Never know. Yeah, definitely, man. But this is, definitely has been a good one. I definitely enjoyed this. I think we pretty much because I just wanted to mainly just touch on the science, and
Yes.
and I think that definitely spewed and
But the
fueled.
science is so wow.
Powerful. It's powerful.
Wow. It's so well pushed. I say any of the brothers who have young girls and stuff to utilize those articles, to definitely to the upbringing. I know we can always teach and they choose to move differently, but at least give them that foundation that they be aware.
Yeah, and just let them know. It's like, do you want this man to be a part of you for the rest of your life? Just because you may break up when the relationship,
just
what I'm saying?
As a cute dimple,
just know that just know that he will be a part of you. You will be walking around carrying him for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it seem different when it's explained that way. Literally.
Yeah, it gives it like how the little kids used to say when you're in first grade or kindergarten, when they say, "Ew, you got cooties." Yeah, you are walking with cooties.
Living cooties. Living cooties, like the Walking Dead. Yeah. For sure, man. Any final words, Brother D?
No, that would be it. What I was mentioning, would be what
So what you think about this talk tonight?
I think it's a solid topic. Like I said, just the articles itself, they could be a series by themselves because so much information there.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, it gives you a whole different meaning also for the brothers also to be very careful of who they decide to be intimate also with. Because do you want that girl who is a little bit not mentally sound or stable to be running around with your DNA out there?
With your DNA. Right, yeah, with your DNA.
And when she has a kid, you might be some elements to that kid.
And then, the child is not yours, but the child has your influence.
So it has your imprint. Right. Has your imprint.
Imprint, right? That's crazy.
It makes us be a little bit more cautious with
yes, more
with a rod where it goes, where it goes.
Definitely.
Pick a safer haven to place it.
Definitely, man. I definitely enjoyed this, man. I definitely enjoyed this. I know I kind of anticipated that this was going to be fun, but definitely I enjoyed it, man. And so man. I think we should call this a night. Biblically masculine men do not mix seed. Would you like to close us out on a word of prayer, Brother D?
Sure, not a problem. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us today and discussing your word and to understand that you don't want us to mix seeds, and that we be more inclined and more forward in our thinking and our intimacy and how religious and how spiritual it is, and so much more that we now have the science behind it. That we're more conscious in knowing that our body is our temple, for both for the female and both for us who are males, and we decide to do with it and how we carry ourselves. Lord, also thank all the brothers who are actually listening to these words and also listening to the word later on after we cut off the live stream. Lord, bless Brother Mike and his family. Bless the other brothers who are going to listen to the word also. Bless all of us, also the ones who are usually on the panel, and even though they were not here today, that they're doing well and they're in good spirits. And we're able to meet with them again on the next Masculine Monday or Shabbat Saturday. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother, for that powerful prayer. And thank you to those of you in the chat room who hung out with us today and definitly added to the discussion.
And thanks for the sister for visiting us. First time. That's a first.
No. She's popped in on Masculinity Monday.
Oh, okay.
She's also chimed in on Shabbat Bible, Shabbat morning Bible day,
Oh
definitely.
wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. Okay, no
Yes,
problem.
always adding value, to the discussion. Yeah, definitely. She, yeah, definitely, man. She definitely, she's a wealth of wisdom, walking around. So yeah, brother, Rapaholic, blessings. I know he definitely probably got off the stream because he's like about 2 hours ahead of us. And
Okay.
brother Shalom, blessings to you, Manilo, and Sister Jen Mar, and
Blessings.
yes, and Varzella One. I see you at the shop. Varzella One. Yeah. Thank you all, man. He got another comment that came in, and he says, have a blessed night, y'all. Gotta catch this from the beginning. He says, keep me in your prayers. I'm afraid I miss a bit here and there, but thank you. No, it's all good, sis. And
Not a
definitely,
problem.
we'll keep you in our prayers. Blessings to you all.
Amen.
Thank you. But that's why we got the playback. So definitely you can play back and you can share it. Definitely hit the like button. And definitely, share it. Don't keep that love to yourself. Share it with your friends, your loved ones, anyone that you may think of. And I think this is excellent to share with a teenager.
Very key, yeah, for everyone, yeah.
You want to steer them in the right direction for sure. So with that said, we're going to call this a night. Thank you all for viewing. And we will definitely see you on the next stream, y'all willing. And we want you to have a blessed week. For the King and Kingdom, we bid you shalom and keep digging in the word. Peace.
Shalom, guys and girls.
And gals.